Today, President Trump will meet with his cabinet at the White House instead of Camp David. Retired four-star General Jack Keane joins me now. General, welcome back. Always good to see you. Will you give us the big picture, please? What is the state of play in the Iran war?
Well, certainly the president's made a decision here, and that is to try one last diplomatic effort to see if we can make a deal with the Iranians. And believe me, I mean, President Trump, we got to remind ourselves, he is the one president that has taken Iran on in a consequential way in 47 years. 7 other presidents had to deal with this regime, and he made up his mind that they were going to solve this problem. And why is that? So our audience understands once again, is because even after the 12-day war, Stuart, we recognized by intelligence, Mossad and the CIA, that Iran was recommitted to all of its goals again, despite its nuclear program being set back and despite the destruction of its military capability. They fully intended to rebuild their ballistic missile program, to recover their nuclear program, and they were funding support to the proxies right after the war and continuing it during a different network than what they were using. When they came to that conclusion, they are not going to change, and the math was alarming. They were building ballistic missiles at a rate assisted by China that if they were able to use them against Israel and our allies, it would overwhelm our ability to defend effectively against that. That was the sense of urgency that was driving it, and people forget why we're actually in this. And it truly is stability in the region, U.S. vital national interests here for sure, protection of Israel and our allies in doing so. What we were on the cusp of doing, returning to military operations. The president understands what that is, what that would achieve, and he's given the Iranians another chance here to see if we can get to the same place without having to use that military force. So where are we in that? They're trying to stitch together, Stuart, a memorandum of understanding, a document that would be a framework document. It wouldn't be a deal, but it begins to tell you how much agreement there is just to get that document put together. And job one would be the Straits of Hormuz. Open it up, and our naval blockade, if it was opened effectively, would be removed. That's the leverage we have to get it open. But the Straits of Hormuz document in opening up has got to make certain that Iran recognizes it as international waterways. It's not territorial waterways as they're claiming right now. They have no claim on it whatsoever, and we've got to see the expression of that this is freedom of navigation in international waterways. Then for the next 60 days, and that's what the time clock is, Stuart, negotiations on all the truly hard stuff. Nuclear, ballistic missiles, support for proxies. Each and every one of those issues will be challenging. On negotiators, I spoke to one yesterday for close to 40 minutes. Their eyes are wide open in terms of what they're dealing with here with the Iranians. Where are the Iranians? The Iranians, despite all the punishment we've given them, they are emboldened. And by that I mean, they think because they shut down the Straits of Hormuz, they have leverage over the United States. And what they want to do here is stretch out these negotiations as long as possible.
Yep.
And why is that? Because reduce the likelihood that the president would reattack as it gets closer to our election. Iranians, just like Russians and Chinese, pay a lot of attention to what's going on in the United States. That, in my judgment, Stuart, is a miscalculation. Okay. Because they then do not understand the president. The president has leverage here over them in terms of how much financial relief he gives them in return for the deal he wants to achieve. But the other leverage is what they think will not happen, will happen if this deal folds, and that is reattack. And the president has that card to play, and it's right there. That's the basic framework of where we are.
Whilst we have the time, let me refer to Russia. Putin has Secretary Rubio, Russia has issued a warning to Rubio, hey, evacuate U.S. diplomats and American citizens ahead of systematic strikes on Kyiv. What's going on? I thought the Russians were losing ground. Now they're threatening Kyiv again with missiles and get Americans out?
This is another desperate attempt for Putin to change the narrative. You're absolutely right. What's been happening on the front lines, they're conducting a spring and summer offensive. It has failed. They're not taking ground, they're losing ground. That's the reality of it. Not only that, the Ukrainians have been striking deep into Russia, into Moscow itself, into industrial plants and other things that are all military targets to sustain the war. Russia had to appeal to the United States to get a ceasefire because they were afraid that Ukraine was going to interfere with their May Day parade. Imagine that. That's the fear that Russia had. And they were humiliated by having to do that. This is an attempt. Certainly the bombing is real. I'm not suggesting it's not. But this is an attempt to try to change the narrative that Russia is really dominating and running this war. For the first time in this war, 4 years in, Russia cannot sustain the personal losses they're taking. In other words, they can't replace the people they're taking on the scale that they have in the past, and they've got economic challenges despite the rise in oil prices, which they're benefiting somewhat from. They have major, major problems, and they're trying to change the narrative to something that's more favorable here.
General, it's great to have you on the show. You're plugged in, you know what's going on, and you tell us almost every day what's really going on, and we appreciate it. General Jack Keane, thanks for coming by. We'll see you again real soon, I do hope.